Welcome in to Bears Weekly, powered by IGS Energy, a Chicago Bears network production. Bears Weekly is brought to you by Advocate Healthcare, Athletico Physical Therapy, CDW, Connie's Pizza, IGS Energy, and Miller Lite. Here are your hosts, Jeff Joniak, a.k.a. the Mayor of Bearsville, and his sidekick, Tom the Surfmaster Thayer.
In one of the most enjoyable, unpredictable, dramatic, and at times improbable seasons we have experienced around here in a long time, the Bears are headed to the tournament, clinched by virtue of a 22-16 win over the Packers Saturday night at Soldier Field and by virtue of Pittsburgh surviving at Detroit last night. The Bears, currently the number 2 seed behind the Seattle Seahawks in the NFC, and one of 5 teams already assured of a playoff spot in the NFC, just 2 in the AFC with 2 weeks to go. We discuss tonight on Bears Weekly, special edition here on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Coming up, we hear from our Bears Etc. podcast interview with Bears head coach Ben Johnson. We've got NFL Network's Kyle Brandt kind enough to join us. We've got sound from Tremaine Edmonds and Jade Walker and an interview with cornerback Tyreek Stevenson. Dan Barilli, Jordan Tredup, and Katie Fox, our producers, along with producer Kendra Smith, executive producer of the Bears Radio Network, Eric Ostrowski. What are your emotions like right now and the adrenaline rush? Because I got to tell you, the adrenaline rush from me from Saturday night, I didn't go to bed till like 3:30. I woke up, I felt like I had a hangover. I was emotionally spent, physically spent. I don't know how you felt.
Yeah, I think the opponent made me appreciate the win even a little bit more. If you would have gone and played that game against, I'm just throwing it out there, a Jacksonville Jaguars, just a team you don't see that often, you're not very familiar with. The names don't roll off the end of your tongue like a lot of the guys in the Green Bay Packers do for us. Would that have changed the emotional effect of this game? I think when you take everything into account, sitting in that stadium all day Saturday, waiting for that game to kick off. It's the last game of the night on the NFL schedule. And then it unfolds the way it did. You sit there kind of frustrated in the early parts of the game, and the most exciting part of the game was near the end of the game against the Green Bay Packers. I think all the emotional attachments to it even made it better because of it was who, when, and where it was with.
Every week on Bears Etc., the Monday after the game, Ben Johnson joins me for a conversation about what happened and where this team is headed. Here's an excerpt of that aired earlier today on our Bears podcast. All right, thanks again, Ben. Appreciate it. Bears are a playoff team. First response to that, and have you spoken to George McCaskey?
Yeah. Yeah, we're excited. I think the whole staff was fired up to see, how that Detroit game went and know that we have assured ourselves a spot in that postseason. That was always the number one goal, was the starting point on that. And now we got secondary and tertiary goals that we're looking to get to as well. So really, really, really good start here to where we are in December here. In terms of George, yeah, I'm happy for him. I thought, and as I talked to him, I thought the coolest thing that happened at that game Saturday night was seeing DJ Moore, or listening to DJ Moore after the game talk about Virginia McCaskey, because that's he's 100% right. I mean, it's a shame that she's not here to witness this firsthand. She made such a significant impact on this organization, and she's a big, we wear those patches each week on our uniforms, in remembrance of her. And so I think it's always a good thing to bring up. It's just, she's such a big part of what we're doing. And I know she's looking down on us and hopefully pretty proud of us right now.
They're out there for you to get. Number 1 seed, if you can pull that off, home field advantage. And given now that place robustly exploded the last couple of home games, 6-game home winning streak now, you've whet their appetite to show up in full throttle. And so how cool will it be? How cool would that be?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be pretty awesome if we can earn that. It's one of those things that, last week I didn't see anybody leave their chairs, even though the odds were so low there at the end of the game. They were still stayed with us. They kind of know how our team's been all season long. We're never fully out of it until it hits triple zeros. And I hate that we didn't give them more to cheer for in the middle of the game, because they started off so strong and then they finished so strong for us. And so if we do a better job keeping that momentum going throughout the game, I think it'll be really, really fun to watch.
The mindset from the onside kick to recovery as you're getting ready to call what's next. Well, where's your head at?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a couple things going on in your mind. One of which is, hey, if we do recover this, then we're going to be in a pretty good spot. We got timeouts and we got plenty of time. And so you feel really good about that and potentially opens up your playbook in a major fashion. And then you got to also think in the back of your head, well, if we don't, then that's going to switch our mode into being super aggressive. We need chunks to have a chance. And so, we got great guys in the booth. They really do a great job outlining the situation and what the possibilities are. And it's like, all right, if we get it back, this is how much time. And if we don't, then we need to go 3 and out on defense. And potentially we're looking at, call it 40 seconds with no timeouts to go the length of the field for a touchdown, which that's very challenging. But as a play caller, you're just trying to make sure you're mentally ready for both scenarios and that your players are ready for any of the calls that might come up.
By the way, last time the Bears beat the Packers trailing by 10 in the fourth quarter, 1960.
Wow.
How about this one as well? Only the second team since 1960 to win without forcing a punt and having 100-plus penalty yards. I know these are bizarre, but, our stat guy, Doug Coletti. Well, our stat guy.
I'm not very proud about either one of those two, by the way, but...
I know, but it that defined resilience. It's the makeup, it's the trademark of this team, overcoming everything. You get knocked down, you dust yourself off, and you still live to play.
Yeah, and I think it's also, you bring up both of those things, and you look. We only gave up 16 points, and so it's great red zone defense. It's still getting another takeaway. It's coming up big on fourth down on defense. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really outstanding football when you look at it in critical situations.
Oh, God, we got to talk about red zone. 0 for 5? Are you kidding me? First of all, that's not happened in the league this year with at least 5 red zone trips.
Is that right?
Yes. And on top of that, 0 for 3 goal to goal, and the Packers entering that game were 21 of 22 scoring touchdowns goal to goal.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know that last stat, but no, we talked about it. We talked about it as a staff. We talked about it with the team. It was a big part of our game plan was, we have a lot of respect for their offense and how we want to limit their explosive plays. We felt like the explosive plays contributed us to losing that first game, and so we were intent on not giving up the big ones. Now, with that being said, we still gave up 1 or 2. Over our head there. But we were better as a whole than we were the first game. But when you play the game that way, you might give up some underneath yards and yet you got to bow up there in the red zone. And so our guys did it. I mean, they answered the bell, and it was really everybody. It was the defensive line, linebackers, and secondary. They all made some massive plays for us.
Do you design certain plays based on the strengths of your talent at the skill position? Like the DJ catch, that you have a greater potential of being successful if it's a good throw.
Yeah. I mean, everything we do has got our playmakers in mind and what they do well. We got plenty of speed. We got plenty of guys that do a great job catching the football, and so we just try to make sure they all have opportunities throughout the game plan to make an impact on the game. And so, when Rome and Luther are out, that gives DJ just a little bit more on his plate. I mean, I think what goes overlooked with him in this particular game, this past game, is one, he gets hurt early, all right, and yet knows how important his presence is for us to win that game. He's a key part of our offensive game plan last week. That's one. And then two, he played every single receiver spot. He was Z, he was X, he was F. Mentally, this was the most challenging game for him. That's really what we needed. We had some young players up, and we just want to have them plugged in on one spot and to make sure that they knew the game plan. And so DJ, he came through for us in a major way that kind of goes overlooked, I think, if you're not in the building.
I feel he's one of the toughest players in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean it's wild. He's been dinged up occasionally over the course of the season, and yet he just refuses to miss games or miss time. He is so tough.
There's a lot there, but we didn't get to run it all. You can check it out wherever you get your podcast. But some of the things about just how this now takes the shape of importance where every single thing matters. And certainly it matters even more once the playoff games, because you got to be on your stuff.
Yeah, you listen to these interviews wherever you get to hear the Ben Johnson interview that you get with him every Monday. His voice is really serious. He's not a guy like us as fans that we can be excited about it. We can go to the grocery store and talk to the butcher and we're all raising our voices above each other. That's not Ben. He's just a head coach that wants to get his team ready to go and play the next opponent. And I appreciate that for him, because he doesn't unrealistically get too high or too low. And I think it benefits the locker room in the process of 1 week to the next.
And I mentioned this in our podcast. This is America's team, maybe. 12 players, highest vote getters at their position by fan voting for the Pro Bowl. That counts for 1/3. Those announcements will come up later this week, but that's impressive.
Well, the thing about it is, because the NFL is so well represented, that everybody, no matter where you live, whatever country you live in, that you can see the Chicago Bears. And this team, uniquely enough, it has a lot of different personalities and people can gravitate towards. And so I think that's why they're so well liked. In the resiliency of this football team, it's a nationally captured audience until the end of the game.
Coming up, we hear from Tremaine Edmonds and wide receiver Jade Walker. It's all coming up next on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly on the Bears Radio Network. Here's your host, the voice of the Bears, Jeff Joniak.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak. We had a couple of players up at Hallis Hall earlier today jump on Zoom calls with the media. One was Tremaine Edmonds, and I know he's been chomping at the bit, Tom. He wanted to come back. I know that's an overused cliche, but he suffered an injury that kept him on injured reserve, and he was ready when that window opened to get right back on the field and get to work. And he came up with 6 tackles, and he got a fumble recovery thanks to Nashawn Wright, the turnover maker. Lot of great stuff from Tremaine about coming in on the ground floor, basically, of this opportunity with the Bears and seeing it grow into this right now. He was having a Pro Bowl season before the injury, and I think he takes great pride in being back on the field. Here's Tremaine Edmonds.
Honestly, man, I think the wildest part was the catch, you know what I mean? Like the very last play, just the execution, the ball, the catch, and then the crowd going crazy after the catch. Like, that was probably by far the wildest part. Nah, it's too many moments to choose from, because now that I'm thinking about it, it was probably the onside kick, to be honest with you. Like, it's too many different, you know what I mean, good plays to choose from. But if I really got to think about it, I think the onside kick, just, going through the, like, just on the sideline watching it, like, man, come on, let's go get it. And then seeing that we actually recovered it, and then seeing the way the offense executed, to that play, to Jade's play, to, obviously DJ's play. Like, it was just a whole lot of good plays that I could choose from for sure.
It's obviously not a one-off. So what's your interpretation of this team's ability to kind of handle those against all odds situations that you guys have been in?
Yeah, I think it's just a resilient group. You know what I mean? Even though everything in that ball game didn't go our way, whether it was offense, whether it was defense, special teams, guys kept fighting. And that's what you need, you know what I mean, at the end of the year, going to playoffs and things like that. Just a championship team, like, you got to be able to keep fighting until, there's no more time left on the clock. And until the game is fully over. And that's what we did as a group. You know what I mean? Nobody pointed the finger, even though it could have been times when guys was frustrated. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Guys just kept fighting, and, you know what I mean? Even in halftime in the locker room, just seeing the energy everybody had, the belief everybody had to go out there and finish the game off strong. It was definitely good to see.
What does it mean just to be able to be back in the playoffs with them?
Yeah, I think it means a lot. We play this game to just have a chance, right? Everybody talks about Super Bowl, but you got to be able to get into the dance first to even have Super Bowl talk. So, being able to punch our ticket to even, have a chance to bring that trophy home it's something that, you know what I mean, it's very important to us. But, you know, even with that talk, don't get me wrong, it's a great accomplishment, but at the same time, we have 2 important games coming up that could really shape out, you know, how that'll even go in general. So I think our main focus is on, one, you know, this week, and then, you know, taking it 1 week at a time, because these are some important games, you know, even though that we already clinched that, but it's bigger things that we're trying to do, just as far as, you know, obviously placement and seed and things like that. So we got to take it one day at a time, one game at a time, and, you know, see how everything plays out.
How vital is he to be back at this time with all that playoff experience he had in Buffalo? A lot of big games he's played in his career.
Dennis Allen talked about the position change between Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. We have a chance to see how well they complement each other. They're 2 different styles of linebackers, but they play the position so well, so Pro Bowl-like. And we see TJ, since he came off of injured reserve, he's playing like the old TJ Edwards. He's playing faster. He's got great reaction. And then that's the same thing I expect from Tremaine Edmonds. Yeah, he was out of action for a little while. Super complimentary of the physical staff to get him ready to get back on the field. And now he's been able to prove it to himself in that Green Bay game that he's ready to go. I've always liked Tremaine Edmonds' attitude. He's kind of got a unique style and body built for the linebacker position, but he gets the most out of his length. And he's, like I said, he and TJ Edwards really complement each other well.
And then Jade Walker, a great story from undrafted free agent that we got to recognize in minicamp as a guy that stood out. He's got specific traits and speed that really caught our attention, certainly caught the Bears' attention. But for more than that, not just running routes and catching passes, but his special teams work, his blocking and whatnot, he's pinching himself right now. Here's Jade Walker earlier today.
Really just trying to be ready when my number's called. It's been a long season, and I just try to be the best teammate as I can, going to work every day, just being me. I love the staff. They allow me to be myself, and I just try to show up with great energy and effort.
How do you describe the energy you felt after leaving Soldier Field on Saturday night before you finally fell asleep?
I couldn't actually sleep. My phone was ringing all night. My family, we've been on the phone to almost till now. Like, we just been on the phone chopping it up. They telling me how proud they are of me and how just keep staying ready. And I never know when the next opportunity will come, but just telling me to keep staying ready and focus on next week and put this behind me, because we got to keep winning.
Jade, how would you describe your relationship with Caleb Williams? We see you in the locker room play that basketball game that you guys do. And how would you just describe that relationship and where you guys have taken it since you guys started to know each other?
Well, I used to stay with him for a little bit before I moved into my new crib, but it was fun. He a cool dude. We never lost, by the way, in that basketball game. We always used to beat the defense, because we never really played anybody on the offense, but we always used to beat the defense. And I feel like our relationship just built from all the way from camp, just running through routes and going through routes, and just I don't know. It was one game, I forget what game it was, but he had texted me. He was like, after the game, he was like, "What you doing?" I was like, "Headed back home." He was like, "Can you meet me in the indoor?" And I was like, "Yeah, I ain't play. I can meet you in the indoor." And we went to the indoor, and we was in there for 3-4 hours, just throwing routes, running through routes. He was working on a scramble drill, throwing, and that showed me how much of a leader he is, and how much he cares about his process and his work ethic, and how he performs, and the way he prepares for each game is it's crazy.
His stories are amazing, and it just speaks to a young player, almost kid-like, about this experience on the biggest stage.
If I was Jade Walker, I would get a shirt like he says, "Be ready, stay ready," because I don't think that really, is so reflective of Jade, because we saw him in training camp, and this guy kept standing out. Number 20, what position does number 20 play? Is he a running back? No, he's a receiver, and he's done some really great things at the receiver position, but the discipline to stay ready. You're an undrafted free agent. You don't know when your number is going to be called. Here it is, week 16 on a nationally televised game against the biggest opponent that the Bears have in the history of their franchise. In bam, there you are. Third play of the game, you're targeted. You make the first catch of your career. Boom. Fourth quarter, you're getting an opportunity to make a touchdown catch, and you make it, and you secure the football. Congratulations to you, and I'm glad you got to spend emotional phone time with your family.
Coming up next, an interview with cornerback Tyreek Stevenson. He's coming up next on ESPN 1000 of the Bears Radio Network.
Bears.
It is gone!
Bears Weekly.
Time expires!
A deep dive into all things Bears.
And the Bears win!
With Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer, this is the home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. With Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Tyreek Stevenson had missed a few games here in the latter half of the season, came back, had a pass breakup in this win over the Packers. A great example of somebody overcoming something significant in his professional career and coming out the other side. That's part of this interview, and sit down with the Bears veteran cornerback. What have you learned about yourself in these NFL games? Ups and downs.
I would say ups. Far as the ups is like, if you put your mind to it and you dedicate yourself to this game, you dedicate yourself to your craft, you dedicate yourself to whatever you want to do, the sky's the limit. And then far as the down is, you just can't never get too down. And same with up. You can't never get too up. You can't never get too down. In this league, in this profession, in life, as man, you have to stay that straight line because you never know when the ebbs and the flows will come.
Right. It's unpredictable.
Very much so.
Unpredictable. But you can do a lot to meet it at the pass, so to speak, meet it at the intersection of that. Mm-hmm. And do you think you've done a good job of that?
Yeah. I think I've done a great job at mediating the highs and accepting the lows and learning from them. Mm-hmm. I think I've done a great job with it. Dating back to last year.
Right. It seems to be, I read a story recently about you. Dan Wiederer from the Athletic wrote. It was an outstanding story about that. The chatter will always be there. And there was a gentleman, Mr. Trevino. Mm-hmm. He's a football coach and somebody that's important to you.
My guy.
Yeah.
My guy.
Tell me more about him and how he's kind of leveled the playing field for you mentally and spiritually.
Far as mentally, he was one of those coaches who was never afraid to say the hard truth. Like, if I was BSing, he'd tell me BSing. If I wasn't up to the standard, he'd tell me you're not up to the standard. And if it took action and consequence, like, you can't play this game, he'll be the one, like, you can't play this game. So, far as mental, he prepared me for tough love, tough coaching, tough anything. And then far as spiritually, I just watching him grow into the man he is. Like, when I first met him, fresh out of college, first time coach, just had a daughter, trying to figure out his way. I was one of his first, like, it's like a group of 6 or 7. I was like one of the first 4 to get there. So, but just watching him challenge himself through his religion, challenge himself through becoming a father, challenge himself through becoming a coach, and being in the background and seeing it, but also having him, like, this is how you handle it. I didn't handle it. And he come to me too, like, I didn't handle it my best way, but this is what I don't want you to do. So just taking all those life lessons and stacking them up on top of each other and having him to explain them to me is definitely how he, helped me mentally and spiritually.
What does Rudy Trevino do right now?
He's a head coach. Like, from wrestling coach in the school is closed. It's called Camel Drive. And we used to have this car wash section, and that's where our wrestling practice was. It was like in the car wash section. And from that to head coach of a high school football team, amazing. It's amazing.
Will he find it amazing that you're here?
Yeah. Yeah. To this day, we still talk about it. I can't believe you made it, Rico. like the goofy kid who never took anything serious, locked in, and this is where we at. But everything, I pretty much owe everything to him, for real. Like, he used to have his gym. He used to have a built-in gym at his house, and he was my ride home, so I could never skip. I could never skip the workouts, even if I didn't want to do it. I had to go there because that was my ride home.
So, one of the coolest things that I experienced with you was back early in the season, and Tyreek Jr.'s in your hands. And you basically introduced me. It was after a game. Mm-hmm. I was doing some things, and the smile on your face then was even bigger than it is now. April, right? Mm-hmm. Early April, so about 7 months old now. Mm-hmm. What's that done in terms of how you set the course for the rest of your life, professionally included?
It makes me want it more. It makes me want the accolades. It makes me want the name. It makes me want apparently the money. It makes me want everything that comes with it because I grew up without a dad in my life as much. But just to have him look up to, like, you look out for external motivational and people you look up to, and I just want to be that for him. So it's like it propels me to want to do the extra hard, get up early, do this, do that, because when it's for yourself, you can take those days off. You can I could do it tomorrow, but when I think about him, is everything has to be right now, because as he's growing, he's watching, and the only best thing I can do for him is model model the behavior that I want for him.
I often say offensive linemen are kind of born to be natural protectors. they're big guys, number one.
I play O-line.
You did?
I did. My first year.
No way.
First year.
What position?
I play center. I can back it up. I played center and guard my first 3 or 4 years of football.
Wow. Were you any good at it?
I was, and I was just like the fast big kid.
Okay. Well, the point I'm trying to make is you have natural protective instincts, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. You never met your father. Mm-hmm. Stepdad left, and you got sisters and a mom, and you were very protective and available to them. Mm-hmm. And I think you have these natural protective instincts. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's a fair statement by me?
Yeah.
Of your teammates, of your name, of the way you are.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if I allow you in my circle and I approve of you, I'm willing to do it anything. As far as teammates, I'm the guy that you can call 3, 4 in the morning. Hey, Rick, I need a lift. I need a ride. You come pick me up from the airport. I need money. I'm that guy you call. My sisters, you need anything, you need advice, anything. My mom, anything. Then now it's just all trickling down to my son.
Tom, it should be noted that the ball is something he finds. 38 pass breakups in 44 NFL games, and I said including one on Saturday night. 10 this season in his 12 games. He's not started the last 2 weeks as they've played nickel and Nashawn Wright and Jalen Johnson. Now right back together there with Jalen's return. But getting playing time, and he remains an important part of this defense and secondary. This coach likes to mix packages, and he has a lot of preference to dime defense and an extra safety, and you just never know what the combination is going to reveal.
Yeah, listen, I still believe he's the most physical cornerback that the Bears have, and I do believe that some time in his career he could probably be a dominant safety, but I like to see the growth of a young player like Tyreek. They come out of college and now they're part of a professional athlete or professional system, and they have higher expectations on you. The way that you take accountability for yourself, and if something happens, how do you grow from it? And he talks about an important coach in his background who tells him the hard truth, and he talks about tough love. I appreciate that about Tyreek Stevenson. He's an interesting candidate. I think cornerback is the second most difficult position to play in the NFL, and I just hope he keeps his arrow and his attitude pointed up. And when you talk about him, when you were interviewing him and he was holding on to his son, I just can't dream of how much, when he looks into his eyes, how much that means to him.
Yeah, he's always got a smile on his face, Tyreek, man. Even there's something about him that I enjoy talking to him. That's for sure. All right, coming up next, another guy we enjoy talking to. It's Kyle Brandt from NFL Network and Good Morning Football with Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak, and this is ESPN Chicago and the Bears Radio Network.
is ESPN Chicago, WNVP, WTBC, HD2 Chicago, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
Bears Weekly is back, and so are Tom Thayer and Jeff Joniak on ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by IGS Energy with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, and on late notice from a Home Depot parking lot somewhere where in Connecticut, we've got Good Morning Football's Kyle Brandt, noted, passionate Bears fan. Where were you when?
First of all, the Iceman cometh, the Iceman taketh. A 46-yard touchdown. It's over at Soldier Field. Oh, God, I'm getting goosebumps again. Oh, it's so good to see you guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Incredible call. I'm looking at Jeff, with us binoculars. Is it a touchdown? And Tom reaches over to high-five him before Jeff knows for sure it's a touchdown. I'll tell you where I was. I was in Wrigleyville because I was in Chicago this past weekend. I was at a bar on Clark called Almost Home. Shoulder to shoulder, probably a fire hazard. They just kept letting people in. And I'm sitting there, and everybody was more like Tom because they started celebrating the second the ball came down. I was concerned he didn't catch it. It looked like the ball was moving around a lot, and it took them forever to get to the replay on Fox, I feel like, because they were staying with him lying on the ground. So finally, I'm like, all right, he caught it, and I celebrated. But everyone else was already ordering shots, and it was just absolute bedlam. Not even for so much as a wild card game, guys. Just a December football game that mattered, that they won, and it was electric.
What's that tell you about this city?
It tells me that I think Caleb now runs that city, and I think he runs it with one throw. And I was having this discussion Sunday morning with my family, who's been Bears fans for life, and I'm like, God, there is, we've seen the Bulls and we've seen the Blackhawks. We've seen the White Sox. We've even seen the damn Cubs win the whole thing. And there's nothing like the Bears winning. And there's nothing like it. You know what? I remember in the middle of the Jordan era when the Bulls were the biggest thing, not only in Chicago, but in the world. And the Wanstead Bears won a wild card game against the Vikings. And it was massive. The Bears were taking over the city during the Jordan era. That's how powerful the Bears are. And I was so excited. And I'm trying to be objective kind of on NFL Network. You guys know me. I don't do much of that. But I've kind of abandoned all of that. And it's so good to talk to you guys as Bears guys.
I mean, I'm a bandwagon guy. I'm a lifer, but it's still hard to know what to expect in one game to the next.
In a sense, it's easy to know what to expect because it's just never going to be easy with this team. They always fool you a little bit early. Now, when I really started to come over was my family and I took the train from where we live outside of New York down to Philadelphia on Black Friday, and we went to Lincoln Financial Field. And I don't mean I went with the media. I was with the people. We were just in the stands with my kids. And the first question you're going to ask is, did you wear Bears gear in the Eagles Stadium? And my answer is hell no. No, I did not. We were non-denominational, and so were all my children. We all wore black. But we wore black because it was a funeral that day for the Eagles defense. And as we're watching Monangai and Swift just run and run, you guys know this, in that stadium in Lincoln Financial, they have this detail on their scoreboard that keeps a running tally of total yards, passing yards, and rushing yards. It doesn't come and go. It's up there for the whole game. So my son, who's 11 and just played his first year at tackle football, he looks at me at one point, and the rushing start said 208 in the third quarter. So he's like, that's a lot of rushing yards. I'm like, you're damn right it is, son, and there's a lot of time left. So, Tom, that's when I started coming over. When I saw that physical lashing they gave the Super Bowl champs, I'm not the guy who's panicking at halftime. I'm not the guy who's panicking in the third quarter. Now, was I panicking when they needed a damn onside kick? Yes. But this is one of those years, almost like the 01 squad, where it's just all the breaks are happening and it feels magical, and I'm just trying to enjoy it and not to be a constant skeptic.
We always have a saying that field goals will kill you. Yeah. And when you look at Green Bay this past weekend settling for field goals, and then how important the field goals were for the Bears and those conditions and Cairo making them, it's amazing how sometimes they can work against you, and there's some crazy how sometimes they can work for you.
Well, everybody wants to make jokes about kickers until you need one to win a Super Bowl or to go to the Hall of Fame. Like, I don't know. Is Tom Brady without Adam Vinatieri? No. Like, it's a huge, huge piece of everything. And Kevin Butler was a huge piece. Robbie Gould was a huge piece. All those guys are huge. So I always say going into the playoffs, just, look at quarterback, head coach, and run defense. That's not interesting. You better believe you look at the kicker. Do you think the Chiefs would have been where they were without Harrison Butker? He was a huge part of it. So, yes, I love that Cairo's there, up to and including the onside kicks, because with the way this team plays, let's be honest, they're not going to win a playoff game 27-13. They're just not going to do that. It's going to be 27-26 is how they're going to have to win it. They win close games against the good teams. So Cairo Santos is a massively important part of this, because as many times as I've just mentioned Robbie Gould or Kevin Butler, we also remember Cody Parkey, guys. So there's all kinds of kickers you can bring up. And I love that Cairo seems like the right kind.
All right, Kyle Brandt joining us from NFL Network. Good Morning Football. Outstanding show. Must see every day. Would you now agree, Tom, would you also agree that could live as the most iconic pass in Bears history?
What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, you consider the Thursday night edition of Monday Night Football when McMahon came in and they were supposed to run a screen and he threw a touchdown to Willie Gault, where that kind of kicked us off for the remainder of the season. But I think it's the most exciting game that I've been in the booth with Jeff over the last 25 years. Wow. I don't know if you feel the same.
Well, I'm trying to think of the Bears teams that mattered. Rex, for all his faults, hit some huge throws to Bernard Berrien, to Moose Muhammad in playoff games and games that led to playoff games. But why it feels bigger is just because Caleb feels bigger. Caleb feels bigger as the future, the present. When I was at that bar on Saturday night after the game, my bar mates and I got in conversations. We started playing the since game. It's the most this since this. My thing was not just the throw. I think that's the most exciting Bears offensive, or not even offensive snap, play, probably since the Hester kick return to start the Super Bowl. That's how big that was to me. And then we were talking about Chicago athletes at large with Caleb, his importance, his significance, his excitement. And, all the drunk guys were starting to say Jordan stuff, and I'm not saying that, but it's like I remember when Derrick Rose won the MVP on the Bulls. I'm like, this is the future. They have something. This is the best player in the league. I was getting vibes like that. But I'll give you my take on the throw by Caleb. My take is that it was the third installment of a trilogy. And the part one of the trilogy was the throw to Kmet in Philadelphia. You're rolling left, you throw deep to Kmet. It's the back-breaking touchdown. Part two is the same one to Kmet, shorter version that he missed against Green Bay. He blew the throw. He blew the play. They lose the game. This is the third one, leaning left, balanced left. The third one and the most difficult one by far because it was 50 yards longer than the last one. And this ended the trilogy with that throw. Two of them he completed, one he didn't, and this was the best one by far.
The public perception and your perception of Ben Johnson, either in the post-game celebration or interviews that you got to see of him along the way?
I've never in my life seen a sharper contrast between the in-game and the post-game persona. I've had a lot of fun with it myself, that he goes from serial killer to Sam Kinison in the blink of an eye. Now, a lot of young people listening don't know who Sam Kinison is. I know you guys do, but I don't we Belichick was a malcontent on the sideline. He was a malcontent in the postgame. Dan Campbell's an animal on the sideline. He's an animal in the postgame. You choose one theme and you go with it. He does both. I can't believe that the guy on the field who looks like he wants to rip your throat out is the guy afterwards who's doing backflips and screaming and taking his shirt off. It's so fun, and I feel like the players really respond to both of them.
All right, last one. We could spend an hour or so with you, but that's not the case. So I'll just throw it out there. So now what?
Well, now they got to finish. I don't want any letdown after this. That was a huge emotional output they had that night. And you got a couple games to play because, guys, get the one. Get the one. Don't be content with a wild card. Don't be content with NFC North. Get the one and get a week off. Finish. I don't know. Are you content with Seattle at the number one right now? Sam Darnold's going to take the one from you? Stop. I think they should try to win out, see where the chips fall. And I don't know. I remember so well that when they were 0-2 and the sky is falling and Ben Johnson's a fraud and Caleb sucks and this team sucks. And they just kept saying, like, we believe it. I remember somebody asked Ben Johnson after the Lions loss, just how demoralizing was this? And he was like, it's not demoralizing at all. Are you kidding me? It's not, we lost. We'll play our best football in December. And that sounds like empty promises. And what are they doing? Go get the 1 seed and get a week off and enjoy the new year. Last time I sat with Caleb, it was a few weeks ago, but sometimes when you do one of these one-on-one interviews, you guys know you wait and you wait and you wait, and there's a million people setting up cameras. Finally, then the guy gets there and sits down, and then the camera guys are like, hold on, we need a few more minutes. It drives you nuts. But I was thrust into like some chit-chat with Caleb, just elevator talk, basically. And I was asking him, like, so you got the tree up yet? He's like, no, not the tree. We're going to get it soon. And I say, well, I'm bragging. I was such an idiot dad. I said, well, my family and I, we go and cut down a tree. Do you ever do that? He's like, well, no, I'm pretty busy in December. And I put my foot in my mouth like an idiot. Just dumb. I should have just quit while I was ahead. Anyway, I'm sure he's got it up now.
You're the best conversationalist out there.
Sure. Yeah, right.
You'd be on my list for a dinner party. You would be there, no question.
I'd love to be there. I'd love to have both you guys at mine. You weren't kidding, Jeff. I am actually sitting right now in Port Chester, New York, at a Home Depot parking lot. My beautiful wife, God bless her, her only thing she wanted for Christmas, you think I'm making this up, she wants a chainsaw. She hates brushes and shrubs, and she's always trying to trim them on our property. She loves that in our yard. So I bought her a chainsaw. Hopefully she's not listening, but I got her a beauty.
All right, well, there's got to be a sponsorship somewhere in there.
I hope so.
Nice. Thank you so much, Kyle. Appreciate your time, man.
Bear down, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
All
Kyle.
right, that's Kyle Brandt, top there. Jeff Joniak back after this on ESPN Chicago and the Bears Radio Network.
Welcome back to Bears Weekly, a Chicago Bears production on the flagship home of the Bears, ESPN Chicago.
This segment of Bears Weekly is brought to you by Athletico Physical Therapy. Visit athletico.com to request an in-clinic or virtual appointment and start feeling better tomorrow. Our final segment, always a popular edition. They're writing in thoughts across the globe for Tom to read, but we're going to take Tom's own thoughts on this one. Tom's thoughts have become a big part of our segment 5 in Bears Weekly, and you always got something to think out, Tommy, so I'll start you off and kick you off. Creativity can be dangerous.
Yeah, you know, at this time of Christmas, you ever drive down the street and you see a house that's more decorated than any other house on the street.
Plenty.
And all of a sudden you got an extended view and you're looking there, then the next thing you notice, you might be veering in off the curb or something. That's the same thing I find with both of these offensive coordinators in the San Francisco 49ers game. Their play design, their structure, their motion is so creative, sometimes it becomes distracting to the defensive players. So now you got to focus on your assignment. You can't pay attention to the motion. You're going to see Kyle Juszczyk and his motions that he goes in are not going to be predictable of what the play's going to be. So now if you pay attention to him and his crazy motion, you may get caught out of position. It's just like the Bears when they have some of their fancy motions and they have a linebacker that's playing because of he's a replacement linebacker after an injury. So I just think the creativity of these two offensive coordinators can be so distracting that sometimes you can get caught out of position because you're paying attention to what doesn't matter because it's just something that you don't see that often.
It's the shell game. It's what I always heard about Mike Martz's Rams' greatest show on turf. Don't get sucked up in the shell game. All that movement, keep your eye on it, you know, to see what's under that shell. And is that hard to do these days in the NFL, to understand what all this shifting means? Because certainly, as you've alluded to, Ben does it, Kyle Shanahan does it.
Yeah, it's hard to do because the motions are run so quickly. So by the time there's players in motion, they can get ready to snap the ball, and now you're caught off guard because you're paying attention. What is this guy in motion doing? What is this multiple tight ends for the Bears? What are they going to do after the ball is snapped? So I'm complimenting the creativity of both of these offensive coordinators, but pay attention to your assignment, not the pre-snap movement.
Gosh, most of the time you think the shifts are just to determine if it's man or zone, but it goes way deeper than that with these guys.
These ones.
Right. Take out the 2-for-1, Tommy.
Well, that's McCaffrey. He's their leading rusher and their leading receiver. If you can take him out of the game, you're taking away 2/3 of their offense, effective offense. You look at the numbers behind McCaffrey, both as a rusher and a receiver, and they significantly go down. The second running back, he has a higher yards per average carry, but he's got significantly less yards. You take McCaffrey out of the passing game, and now they become more predictable in where they're going to go with the ball. So this is a 2-for-1 opportunity. You take McCaffrey out of their offense, and you're significantly decreasing what this offense can do.
Big day, I would imagine, for the linebackers in the front.
Yes. Isolation plays against the running back, or just the versatility that he can add to the offense. And he's a type of guy that can be featured or get the ball in his hands for multiple plays, 5, 6, 7 plays in a row. I've seen it done.
All right. And your last one is about the kickers, Cairo Santos, Eddie Pinheiro, the former Chicago Bear. Are we going to throw punters in here as well, or just the kickers?
No, I'm just going with the kickers, okay. Jeff.
All right.
Because you look at Eddie Pinheiro, we all know him. He's a former Chicago Bear. He's a well-liked guy. Maybe a kicker that I enjoyed spending time with. His longest kick is a 59-yarder. That's a banger. I never knew Eddie Pinheiro could kick it that far, but he's 22 of 26 on extra points. Yeah. So that may give us a point, because we know what the points meant last week by Cairo. You look at Cairo, his long is 54 yards, but he's 34 for 34 on his extra points. He doesn't miss those. So this is a type of game that it could come down to a kicker. You don't know what the surface is going to be like, because there's been question marks about the surface at the stadium. We're not really sure what the conditions are going to be like, because it's been raining a bunch out there. So when it comes down to the importance of these games, everything matters, and nothing matters sometimes more than the kicker. And Cairo's coming off of one of his biggest games in the most difficult of conditions.
I'm surprised you don't have our weather forecast.
Well, this is a Monday. There's a long time. I know there's an atmospheric river that's going over San Francisco, and it's creating some tremendous rain totals right now, but we'll see it later in the week.
All right, Tom, I know you'll be on it, so make sure you fill us in. Give us the forecast. That's going to wrap us up. Great show. Thanks so much, Tommy. The executive producer of the Bears Radio Network is Eric Ostrowski. Thanks to Kendra Smith in the ESPN studios, and Dan Burley, Jordan Trenup, and Katie Fox. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thank you to Kyle Brandt from Good Morning Football. This has been Bears Weekly on the radio home of the Chicago Bears, ESPN Chicago. ESPN's Amber and Ian are next. Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Chicago Bears Network presentation of Bears Weekly, hosted by the Mayor of Bearsville, Jeff Joniak, and Surfmaster Tom Thayer. Podcasts are available on the Chicago Bears official app, brought to you by Verizon and Apple Podcasts. Bears Weekly has been brought to you by Miller Lite.